We're gonna go ahead and install a rear bumper on a 2022 Lexus GX 460 today. So this video will also work for your 5th gen 4Runners, your 4th gen 4Runners, and your GX 470s. In the middle, when we're doing our cuts in here, that's gonna pretty much be your only difference is your cuts. So there's gonna be some cut differences and a little bit of trim differences, but for the most part, this bumper style is gonna be the same bumper style for all 4 models. So we're gonna make it an easy video, and all the spots we touch on are gonna cover the other models without us having to have 4 different videos for all these different rigs. So we're gonna get started on this. To begin it all, we're gonna go ahead and I know this thing's been cut already, so we have what we have because our shop vehicle's already got a bumper on it, so I can't show you on that. So just imagine there's still a huge diaper hanging off the back end of this thing, and then we're gonna make it look better and stronger. So as we get started, we will get all of our cut lines set, make sure we don't have any wiring hiding out behind here, and start trimming off plastic so that way we have a good working area to pull the hitch off. There's tow hooks under here hiding out. We got the trailer plug that we're gonna go ahead and relocate. This little piece of trim that used to hold plastic, we're gonna pull that off. There's a gusset right here that only the 460 has that we have to cut off the back of the frame. The other vehicles don't run it. So yeah, we'll just touch base on all the little aspects of this and make it to where you got every answer you should need. This one also, my favorite, parking sensors. We put holes in the bumper for parking sensors. I don't know if you know me or not, but you'll understand if you do that I hate parking sensors. But we're gonna go ahead and build this out with parking sensors on it so that everybody gets to see how those get installed too. All right, let's do it. Here's the bumper, all powder coated and ready to go, sitting on the table. Some aspects of it, you have a trailer hitch. Stock trailer hitch is definitely decent. It's a strong hitch. We've made ours stronger. So if you have questions about tow rating, we're gonna go ahead and just go out there and say our tow rating is better than stock with our hitch. Our hitch will tie in through these holes here. If you don't want to run a hitch, just don't put it on. Run the bolts with the washers, tie it all together. Don't have a hitch hanging down if you don't want. We're gonna be releasing here soon a high clearance hitch that goes in the middle here so it doesn't hang down, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that's not gonna be as strong as a stock tow rating because there is gonna have to be a hole cut to make that work. Certain things we do offer on this, we have our clevis mounts on it, we have our S2 lights, our flush mounts are going to be able to fit on this. We also have offered, this one has tree savers on it. So most everybody's liking the tree savers quite a bit. It's just a good little bit of added protection. You never know what you're gonna bump up against out there in the world. So this one has the tree savers. So what we've done with all these bumpers is we've already integrated in a pivot point for a 3/4 bolt for a swing out. So as we get everything, all our machinery figured out to start building our swing outs, we're gonna be building them in-house. It should be latches, pivot points, pop pins, everything will be in-house, and we don't have to wait for supply chain or any kind of delays. We should be able to just handle this ourselves without a lot of problems. So as we do this, you'll have the option of a left hand, a right hand, or a double swing out, and everything can be added on after the fact to basically make it as efficient as possible. Very modular is what we're looking for. So going through for the trailer plug, this guy right here, once the bumper's on, this is gonna bolt underneath. and your trailer plug will go right there, just in the same spot it already does. We have heavy duty washers for the back side of the frame for one of our main structural bolts holding everything. We have side frame brackets. So these brackets right here sandwich, because if you try to slide a bumper on with the tube already on it, there's a body mount that gets in the way. So these brackets right here will bolt on and sandwich between the bumper and the frame and support the whole side of the bumper from impact and things like that that may cause you problems. Trees, for the tree savers. So while we're doing this, we're also going to add in a set of, we ordered from Baja Designs. We got some S2 Pro. We got their, we actually went ahead and just bought their tail light kit, backup light kit. So this is going to have everything to mount the lights, including, I don't know if we can see it here or not, including what you need to plug this into the back of the rig, so that way you have everything plug and play and you shouldn't have to splice anything. So hopefully that's my understanding of it, at least. We'll find out if I'm right on that here in a minute. So yeah, flush mount lights are going on, side frame brackets are going on, bumpers going on. And then in the video, if you have a 4th gen 4Runner, 5th gen 4Runner, or GX 470, keep an eye. There's going to be a section where the cutting starts, and we're going to do the 460 first, then we'll do the next one, the next one, and the next one in that section. So that way you can pretty much follow right along for your rig only and not have to worry about questioning where your cut should be. So we're going to get it going. So we're going to do a video where we cut this out. So I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm going to do it with an unmodified blade, rechargeable. This stuff is called wax stick. It's like a drill wax, cutting wax. It's super awesome. All right. So we're going to cut out this hole. We are going to get a drill bit out, drill out. We will most likely drill wax the drill and punch holes for the light that we obviously don't know what light you're going to order. And we'll basically clean it up, paint the edges where we nick it, put the light in, drill the hole, bolt the light down, and then we'll do the other side as well. But this stuff, I dropped it though, so the tip's gone, but you get the gist of it. Sometimes you just gotta power through, right? It's just basically denatured alcohol. All right, so I do that. I got some little bare spots. Easy enough to deal with there. We're gonna mount this S2 Pro flush mount in the bumper before we put it on, because I'm old and I can't get my head to fit in places it used to. So S2 Pro going on, all the bolt holes should match. I would tell you what size this guy right here is, but I can't pull it out of the thing and read it. And then we got a 9/32 socket. The reason I'm using a socket is the light sticks out and trying to get a wrench in there, it's just horrible. I didn't enjoy trying that, so I switched to a socket. So we're gonna go with bolts, washer, nuts, get them all started. Yeah, we got one of our guys that on our 5th gen that we went ahead and put the bumper on first and then put the lights on. It was definitely a little bit of a frustrating experience trying to get your arm flipped over enough to get the nut and the washer on there. So that's why we're suggesting to do it this way ahead of time if you can. If you can't, you know, just use this idea, possibly with an extension on it. It'll make your life a ton easier. Put the nut right in the socket and send it that way. That's a hard one there. Little magic finger action. Okay. Instead of hammering these things down, I'm just kind of snugging them with the ratchet because I don't want, the stainless is kind of soft, so we don't want to tear stuff up too bad. All right, that one's in. So first things first, we got this trim piece. Now I'm thinking you could probably keep this trim piece if you want. It's kind of possible. Myself, I didn't keep it on my rig, so therefore I don't have really an example of what it looks like quite yet, but we're gonna check it out when we go to do this install. All right, got ourselves a 10mm here. We're gonna start popping out these bolts that hold the plastic bumper on. So to get started on it, we start popping out the bolts. Now, like I mentioned before, our vehicle that is being used for the install has already have some modifications done to it. So there's going to be a couple little key points that you're going to find, say, underneath with plastic attachment. You're just going to have to, you know, use your best judgment. But this whole section's coming off, so however you want to make that happen, it's totally up to you. I am going to set these bolts right here for right now until we kind of move forward, and we will start popping buttons. Got a couple plastic buttons on each side. I bet the ones behind the door are probably going to be a little bit of a pain, but we'll see how hard they are to get out. The reason we're doing this is, first, we ran into a lot of trouble on our first vehicle cutting behind the swing out door on the 460. Like a 5th gen is going to have a tailgate that flips up. So is a 4th gen 4Runner. But the 460, it has this swing out, and when you use the swing out, you're obviously blocking off this whole side. So trying to get a saw or grinder in there, pretty good chance you're going to damage your paint job. So it's probably better to go ahead and get this thing off, make your first cut, put it back on again, and then go ahead and proceed with your install. Just to save the crying or the having to explain how the Sawzall slipped. I've never done that. Okay, that one's just got the clip. So, as we move forward on this, we're over here in the fender well. Now, he's got aftermarket fender flares on, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna attach the same way a stock one would. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get these bolts out, get the flare off. The flare's kind of doing its thing to hold the plastic on the side of the truck. So as the flare comes off, the plastic also gets loose. Little button right there. All right, so I'm just gonna set everything kind of where I can get to it later, and we'll see how we are. Some people really like flares, mud flaps, things like that, and I get it, but we're putting on a bumper, so it's got to come off. So, all right, so this side's pretty good. She's gonna come off real fast. I'm gonna get the bolts on the other side, and then we'll go ahead and unhook the wiring harness, so as we pull this off, we're not dragging a wiring harness out with us. Okay. Same thing, 3 self-tapping, I don't know what you call that. They're not really self-tapping, but they are not machine screws, that's for sure. So those guys come out, and then this little plastic button comes out. All right, I won. There. Mud flap is off. Initiate mudding. So along this whole bumper, the harness for the tail light, parking sensor, other parking sensor is all sitting right here. This is obviously plugged in beforehand. I went ahead and unclipped it and unplugged it. There we go. Wash your connections, people. Wash those connections. All right, so then we got, now this would normally be hooked right into the back of a light, but this vehicle has LEDs in the back. So we are gonna just see if we can just work this plug loose. I'm giving it all the ugly face I got, and I still can't get that thing to move. Oh, it's okay, I got it. There's a wire coming in that normally wouldn't be there stock. So I'm gonna just unplug that. Normally what you would have is this with a bulb in it, and you would just turn this, just unscrew it basically about a half a turn, and the bulb would pop out of the lens housing. Well, because this one has an LED light in it, it's been modified. But you get the idea of what we're trying to do there. Disconnect the harness from the back of the truck. So we do have all this wiring disconnected from this wiring. So now the plastic bumper should come off without being connected to the body anymore. Because Toyota loves me so much, Lexus loves me so much, they decided to put plugs on this side too, which I don't like, but we're dealing with it. It'll be okay, you know. You said, clean your plugs once a year, people. All of them, whole truck. There we go. All right, so that's good. That disconnects from that. Do have a, whatever the hose is right there, maybe a vent hose. I'm gonna go ahead and just get that unzip tied so we're not fighting with it. And I think at that point, we're ready to pull our rear bumper cover off. So for this part, I'm gonna enlist my lovely assistant, Chris, here. So we're gonna go ahead and pull off the plastic, set it on this table, get our cut lines, cut the plastic, put it back on the rig, so that way we're not slicing up the paint job on the back of the door like we talked about. So right here where that screw went in for the mud flap, see that little piece of plastic sticking out? When you go to pull this off, you gotta pull it past it. Don't just yank, because that thing's stuck in there. And then you give it a little tug, and the bumper basically unclips. And then there's one more compression fitting on this side that the other side doesn't have. And that compression fitting basically grabs this section right here, so that way you don't have buttons along this side like you do over there. It just slips into this little slotted area here, and that grabs it just like these ones. Okay. Most of the bumpers that we're building for today's vehicles have these things in the bumper. Thank you, Lexus, for putting it way up above where we're gonna cut. Blind spot monitor. Probably one of my least favorite phrases to hear when I'm building a bumper. Blind spot monitor. So basically our cut line is gonna be right along here, over and down. But then, like I said, we're gonna try to leave a little section in here to where we can still use the plastic trim piece that plugs in right here to kind of give the transition point a little bit better feel and look to it, so there's not a gap. A little less barbaric, you know what I mean? All right, so we're making the cut line on this before we put it back on. We got a couple things we want to try out with this one versus the way I did mine. On mine, I didn't do the trim piece that connects the back of the truck to the top of the bumper. So we're gonna take a look at it while we're putting this bumper on to see if it's possible to still use that trim piece to kind of clean up the area a little bit. I can't guarantee it's gonna go that way, but we're gonna try it out. All right, so right here, we have our 11 1/4 mark. It's pretty faint because of the black on the black, but I think it's seeable. The Sharpie has a little bit of bluish in it. I'm gonna start a fresh one there. So there's 11 1/4 right there. All right, so as we come around the corner, we've got a distance issue going on here. It's obviously not straight up and down anymore. We're going at an angle, right? So that was our mark we were gonna use. I'm gonna squish it down to about 11 1/2. Right? If you're unsure about this, make it long, see if it fits. Trim it a little bit as you go. Don't leave a huge ugly gap. And definitely don't leave it rubbing. If you leave it rubbing, it's gonna push that thing right up off your truck when you're out in the woods. All right, same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the 11 1/2 because I wanna be sure. Probably gonna trim a little around here. But like I said, I just want to be sure that we got it so we don't have any problems. This side, 11 1/4. Same thing. 11 1/4. So that's just going to zip off these two corners. We take this corner off, that corner off, slap them back on the rig, and then we got a few things to trim up on the back of the frame here. We got to take the hitch off and a couple other things, but we're getting really close to being able to try out the fit up. All right, so for the 4th gen, when you make your cut, you're going to be right at 5 1/2 inches. And I know it's a little beat up, but 5 1/2 should do really good. You want to go 5 3/4 and trim it, that's fine. Over here, same thing, 5 3/4 for that one, and then 5 3/4 for that one. Ignore this. We did that when we did the first set of tree savers. They were a little too tight to the side, so now they tilt out more. So you don't have to have that problem. So 5 3/4, 5 3/4, 5 1/2 over here. Everything's good to go. So when you're making your cuts on the 460, you're gonna be, you go to 11 1/4, and then 11 1/4 right there. You're gonna be hitting this line at 11 1/4 down to your cut point. Same thing goes right here. So you're gonna be right there. It should be tight at 11 1/4, and then you're gonna end up trimming it to fit right around 11 inches. But I'm recommending you at least go 11 1/4 down, so that if your truck's been in an accident, anything's twisted, that you at least have some room to work with to adjust. So 11 1/4, make your mark, make your cut, fit your bumper. If you don't like it, move the cut up. If you do like it, you can leave it. You don't have a gap like this looking all dumb. Next up is the cut points for the 5th Gen 4Runner. So we got 7 1/2 inches right there to that little corner of the tail light. Nice clean. And then over here, we're gonna hit, call it 10 1/8 to that top point right there on the plastic. 10 1/8 to that. And then we'll go 4 1/2 to the flat right here in the flare area. So that'll take care of your 5th Gen cut points. It should be your only difference. The 5th Gen is the only bumper that's gonna be slightly different in parts and style than the other three. The other three should interchange. Don't try to interchange the 5th Gen 4Runner with a 4th Gen 4Runner, 460 or 470, because it's not gonna fit right. Even though the 5th Gen isn't the same fit up as the 460, the 470, and the 4th Gen 4Runner, it's still the same install video. It's still gonna be the same bolts, the same process, the same everything. So you can still use this video to install your 5th Gen bumper. We just wanna make sure you know your cut points are a little bit different, and this bumper sticks out just a little bit more than the 460, the 470, and the 4th Gen 4Runner. All right, so then I'm gonna put a little tape line around it, because who could see what we just wrote on there? Not very many people. So we'll get our tape line on it. Silky smooth. My recommendation on this is buy a white GX. Holy cow, it's hard to see this. Go for a rip. All right, so we're gonna make our cut around the bottom edge here. One thing we're doing is, with the distance difference because of the angle versus straight measuring, we're going a little bigger. We just wanna be sure we got it. Now, this is probably not what you're supposed to use to cut with. Milwaukee and a couple other brands make a really cool reciprocating cutter that's similar to what they cut casts off with. That's what I'd probably recommend for most people to use. I just use this because I've been using one forever. It's something I'm comfortable with. I'm not saying it's not dangerous. That's what I'm pretty much getting at. It is dangerous. Don't use one of these. Use the reciprocating one. All right, here we go. cut. So, corner. Once it's off, everything's cut off of it. You got this guy right here. I'll lock into that. Lock in there. And corner's back on the truck. Now we're probably going to trim this just a little more, but we got to do a fit up just to be sure everything's good to go. Ooh, so this one's got buttons on the inside, so you don't really have to smack that one in. It's going to hit the button points. Next up, these guys right here. I'm sorry, I don't know why Lexus used them, but Lexus is the only one. Only on the 460 we see these. So we have to get rid of these because we're not gonna build a whole another bumper just because they did this. You won't find them on the 5th gen 4Runner or the 4th gen 4Runner or the 470, but you're gonna find them on here. So we go in here and we cut that weld, give it a slice, cut that weld. Shouldn't be too bad. We'll try to make it as painless as possible. We put this paper on here. This is 3M paper. It's made to, it doesn't catch fire when it gets sparks and stuff on it. You use it for welding, cutting, grinding. Not everybody's gonna have this. Your wife's favorite quilt will also work great for this, or an old sheet or something like that. It's just something to deflect the sparks. You don't want sparks on your paint job. Really tears things up. So just a note. And you know, if your wife's watching this and she sees me say that about the quilt, I apologize. Let's use better judgment, everybody. So we're gonna cut down into these welds and try to pop this out a little bit, and then we'll cut the bottom ones. All right. And I just don't like going from the bottom of this, so I bent it down. You could probably cut it a lot quicker from the bottom. Use the grinding disc for this part, soft pad, whatever you're comfortable with. Clean off that a little bit. So that part's done. This is the old hitch mount. We're gonna pull that off. 6 bolts in it. 4 in the face, 2 in the back, stink, whatever. So that cleans off the back of the frame pretty good. We also have this little piece of trim down here that we got to get rid of. So far we've used a 10 millimeter, 12 millimeter, 17 millimeter. That's pretty much most of what you're gonna have to use to get one of these things off the truck. Going back on the truck, you're gonna need a 19 millimeter. We'll show you that part here in a minute. This bolt is hiding out behind a little bit. So, and then it looks like we got one more also hiding out a little bit behind. There it goes. Now we're sending you a holder for this trailer plug. It won't be pointed straight back like your old one. It's just gonna be flush, pointed straight down like this. So just be aware of that. When you go to do this, you have to pull all this stuff off to unplug it from the plug, and then remove the plug from the mount. So when you get this off, you're gonna push this in, but notice there's a rock hiding there. Watch out for that kind of stuff. I swear to God. If it wasn't for that. All right, now let's try it. Pushes so much better. So then we got our other side that hates me. Who knows, maybe there's a rock hiding in it. So there's your plug. Cool. Once we get to bumper install, we'll show you where this goes back on at, so that way you can reuse it. So last thing you're gonna find is 2 bolts for your toe point, pull point, hitch point, whatever you wanna call it. Recovery point, we'll call it that. Recovery point is removed. There's a good chance you'll never need to use this again, because the bumper will have it on there already. At that point, our frame's cleaned off for the most part. We do have some other brackets we're gonna clean off. We're gonna do a quick fit up real fast first and see if we actually have to do that. If not, then we're gonna be moving forward. We're gonna bend these tire catches down a little bit. And the only reason we're doing it on here is because we wanna give you options. If you're keeping your spare tire under here, we only need a little bit of space. So instead of lopping them off, which is what I did on the shop rig, we're just gonna bend them down a little. And then if you're keeping a stock spare under here, you'll still be able to do that. So it takes a persuader. I believe that's, what is it, a 2.5 pound persuader. And watch your knuckles over here. And just give it a couple of good persuasive whacks. Talk to it if you want to. And that should make enough room for the bumper to slide right past these, and you can probably still stick your spare under it. So sensors, we're gonna pop these sensors out right here, and then we got another one over here. Once the sensor's out of the hole, you come in here with your grandpa's favorite old-timer knife or whatever. There's 3M VHB tape on this that's holding it. That's all that's holding it. That's all we're gonna send you to hold it when you put it back on. So, exact same tape. Extra strong, high bond. So we'll go with here. What we use to clean this off is we use a wire wheel, because it doesn't get into the plastic, but it does take the adhesive off. At home, you know, you can scrape it, whatever, throw it to the kids, have them peel it, or maybe some goof off or something like that. Just to get it out of there. So on the stock bumper, the corner sensor is directly below this, facing the same direction. So I just basically found a spot that works well in the plastic, 2.5 inches from this edge, center of where my cut point was, and drop that in. And then this guy here, this one's facing directly back and a little bit to the inside. and that'll take care of your rear facing sensor. So corner facing sensor, rear facing sensor. This bracket right now is bolted into the pivot point for the swing outs. So you have one down here, another one up here. So if you do get a swing out from us, we will do sensor accommodations on the swing out arm to accommodate for this rear facing sensor. Our next move is, before we put the bumper on for the final bolt up, we've done a couple fit ups to make sure we got our cut line right. We'll give you these numbers here soon. We're gonna do the pinch weld right here. We have a bracket that comes right across and bolts into the side of the frame right here. So this guy right here is hanging down just a little bit. You can go crazy with it if you want. We're just gonna give it a little love and get it up out of the way of our tube. If you want to go wild with it and shove it all the way up, that's fine too, but this will take care of for this purpose. So next move is we are going to drill out this hole and this hole. On some of the vehicles, there's going to be nuts in here. On the 460s, there's no nuts in those holes. So we're going to go ahead and give you guys nut certs that fit in these holes. So when you go to put your bumper on, you'll drill these out, put the nut certs in the holes, and then when you go to bolt on your side frame brackets, you'll have something to bolt to. Sorry, I'm just being really cautious because boom, we're there. Back. All right, final fit up. And like I said before, if you don't want to run your hitch, you don't have to. You can run it without a hitch. You gain about right around 3 inches of clearance with that, and you're literally only pushing 3/16 of room underneath the truck on the bumper itself without a hitch. So we got these spacers right here. These spacers are gonna go in, and if you look, the reason we're using these, we got our side frame brackets up here we got to deal with. But see how the weld on the bottom of the frame, all Toyotas are like this. It's robot welded. The welds are imperfect everywhere. They droop wherever they want to droop. There's a tie-in over here in the middle. That weld hangs down, totally gets in the way. We can't go flush up on the bottom of the frame because of it. So what we do is we put this spacer in with the cut side facing towards the center to avoid the weld up front or in the back here, right here in the corner. And then that'll take care of any imperfections in the bottom frame weld. This guy right here is your attachment for your trailer wiring plug. So we put this here, and then this one here. And then this little guy right here, she's gonna plug right into it. Everything sits in there nice and tidy. It's as high as we can get you for now. That'll keep your trailer plug up out of the way. Go on the driver's side, got threaded bolt holes. And you gotta be real careful. I mean, these bolt holes, they haven't been used. So just be sure that they're gonna work before you start ramming a bolt through them. Same thing goes on the bottom. Nothing's been in these. So a little bit of lube can never hurt. The 10.9 grade bolts will definitely cause problems if you just start ramming through them. I got full thread on the verts. So if you want to do the what? Right there. So to get the side frame bracket on, we want as much clearance as we can get. So what we've done is we've gone up in here and pushed this pinch seam up with a hammer. Just rounded it off. It'll work just fine. And we can still get our side frame bracket on where it needs to go without any interference from the body. If you don't do this and you just push the bracket up against the pinch seam, you're gonna get a thunking noise back here all day long while you're driving. It'll drive you crazy. So you definitely want that clearance in there just to make sure that tube has somewhere to sit. Battery's dead. So the last little piece is going to be this side frame bracket right here. As we're putting the bumper on, we got these bolts in, these bolts in. Before we go too crazy and tighten everything up, we want to get this guy in. It's a little snug. It's always going to be a little snug because it's built in the jig with the bumper. So I use one of my favorite tools ever, the pointy wrench. So once we got the one in, you can use, obviously not everybody has a pointy wrench hanging around. So if you're having trouble getting them to line up and you want to use like a punch or whatever, so get them where you want them. And that gives number 2. Oops. There we go. All right, so all that's in.
No.
You got the wrench? So Chris is gonna hold it kind of where it needs to go. And then I'll snug this in, and then it'll hold it from moving around. And get the second bolt in pretty easy. It's gotta go on its hole. She's in. Okay. So at this point, all bolts are in. Everything's in, everything's loose. It's all movable, but we got every bolt in. Don't tighten any bolts until you get them all in the holes, because you're gonna fight with one or the other if you bind it to one side or the other. We'll just go around, start snugging everything down. We get these last frame bolts in, and she's a done deal. When you're putting on these big bolts, there's a big hole back here. Use the big washer that we send along, big flat, thick washer. That'll reinforce. This is a major pull point right here. So what we're looking for is we're giving you extra. Most bumpers you're not gonna see this on. On ours, we know you guys are gonna use it. So we're gonna send it with as much extra gusseting as we possibly can. Good. Looks nice. Bumper's all on. Hitch is on. Through the frame bolts are in. All the bottom bolts are in. Side frame brackets are in. We have our tree savers on this bumper. It's actually a more preferred, it seems like, with everybody. Tree savers here. It came out pretty nice. We weren't able to reuse the trim piece in here, but the owner of the vehicle is talking. He may be able to come up with a solution to that in his own time, possibly using either buttons or Velcro to hold that trim down, just to bridge this little gap right here. But everything else, as far as it goes, she's done. There's your instructions on GX 460, 470, 4th gen, and the 5th gen 4Runner rear bumpers. Thanks for watching.